Well, we have some breaking news on Hunter Biden. The Washington Post reporting that federal agents have gathered what they believe is enough evidence to charge the president's son with tax crimes and a false statement related to a gun purchase.
Chief White House Correspondent James Rosen has been following the story. He joins us from the White House. James.
Bob and Katrina, good afternoon. No early comment from the White House in response to this Washington Post bombshell, which has just crossed. Newsmax, of course, has not independently verified the contents of this Washington Post reporting. But in essence, once again, to recap, the newspaper is reporting that federal investigators for the FBI, working in tandem with other agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service, have preliminarily determined that enough evidence exists to charge Hunter Biden, the president's son, with alleged tax crimes and an alleged false statement relating to a gun purchase. The Washington Post says the decision now of what must be, of how this case is going to be handled rests with the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney in Delaware, David Weiss, who has been overseeing this investigation since 2018. We can't confirm this reporting. I can tell you that my own sources have indicated that the decision isn't entirely David Weiss's, that in cases of extraordinary political sensitivity, it's quite common, rolling back over the years, for a U.S. attorney to acquaint the senior levels of the Department of Justice leadership with the status of an investigation of these ramifications. I'm told that a key player at this stage in the DOJ leadership is the Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco. Were the senior levels of the Department of Justice to come to a different conclusion about how the Hunter Biden case should be disposed of, wouldn't necessarily be unprecedented. For example, we saw the Attorney General in the last administration, William Barr, overrule the career line prosecutors with respect to the recommended sentencing for Roger Stone. Nonetheless, this remains a case, particularly in the midterm cycle, of extraordinary political sensitivity. I have a certain direct connection to it. It was this reporter reporting for the Sinclair Broadcast Group back in 2020, 5 days before Election Day, that October, who broke the story that Hunter Biden was under active FBI criminal investigation, subsequently confirmed by Hunter Biden himself following the 2020 election. At that time, the sources told this reporter that the younger Biden was under investigation for a potential range of alleged offenses, from money laundering to tax crimes to other issues. We learned that Tony Bobulinski, a former business partner of Hunter Biden, had been interviewed recently around the time of the 2020 election by up to half a dozen agents for 6 hours of the FBI, and that they seized 3 of his cell phones and extracted the data from them, and took a keen interest when he was asked specifically about Hunter Biden's business activities in Ukraine and China. Now, according to the Washington Post, and this is reporting I can also bear out, the focus has narrowed. I'd understood that the prosecutors in Delaware and the FBI were now focused principally on tax crimes, alleged tax crimes by Hunter Biden. It's worth noting, and this is in the public record, that he paid some outstanding back taxes. That usually takes the prosecutorial zing out of the prosecutors and the potential case that they might bring once the taxes are paid. This could end up any number of ways if the Washington Post reporting is accurate. Mr. Biden could be asked to sign an acknowledgement of wrongdoing and potentially be spared a tough sentence of some kind, possibly incarceration. He could reject any kind of plea deal. It could not go to trial. So we don't know how this ends up, but it's important. And we'll see whether the White House has anything to say about it. President Biden has been quite outspoken at various points about the FBI investigation into the records at Mar-a-Lago, saying, come on, and ridiculing his predecessor for asserting broad declassification authority. And then on 60 Minutes, President Biden called his predecessor, quote, wildly irresponsible when he saw that image that the FBI published of the documents spread out on the carpet at Mar-a-Lago. So while the Biden White House states frequently that it wants to leave these decisions to the career prosecutors at the Department of Justice and not prejudice pending cases by commenting on them, we've seen President Biden himself violate that rule at least a couple of times with respect to the Mar-a-Lago investigation. But I'll bet it'll be something very different when the question is raised about the Washington Post reporting on Hunter Biden. Katrina and Bob.
James, also an announcement today regarding marijuana.
I'm sorry, regarding
marijuana, it looks like the president wants to pardon all of those who violated federal offenses when it comes to either possessing or smoking marijuana. I didn't mean to throw that at you. I was told you would also have that report. I think now he also wants to encourage all governors to pardon people who may have done the same on the state level, because a president can't have any effect in states, but he can for federal laws. But then there are going to be a lot of people that say the vice president, when she was in California, helped put a lot of people behind bars that may have done exactly what he's trying to pardon people for doing.
Well, this was announced just a few minutes ago in a White House conference call with reporters. The timing of it is interesting, particularly as we're just weeks away from the midterm elections. The cynics among us might think that this initiative was announced at this time so as to energize certain segments of the Democratic electorate that have been clamoring for just this kind of criminal justice reform for a long time.
Yeah.
But it awaits further study. We were researching the Hunter Biden case at the precise moment that this conference call was going on to report those details here.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. This is political. Look at the timing of all this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much, James. Always a pleasure to have you on our program.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the
truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.